Twice a day most coasts hail several feet of ocean, and everything a boater cares about moves with it. The depth under the keel, the current in the channel, the height of the ramp at the dock. The tide table is the forecast, and it is easier to read than most people think. In the next few minutes, why tides behave as they do, how to read the table itself, the Datum Trick behind every number, the Rule of Twelfths, and the streams that matter more than the heights. Tides are the moon's gravity dragging a bulge of ocean around the planet, with the sun helping or hindering. When sun and moon pull together, new moon and full moon, you get springs, the biggest highs and the lowest lows. When they pull at right angles at the quarter moons, you get Neaps, the laziest tides of the month. That is why the table's numbers swell and shrink across 2 weeks, and why the same dock can be bone dry on one Saturday and floating deep the next. The table itself is 4 lines a day, 2 high waters, 2 low waters, each with a time and a height. The height is not the depth, it is how much water the tide adds. The reading habit that prevents disasters. Check the date twice, check the time zone once. Many tables print standard time all year, and let daylight saving be your problem. And read the station. Tables are written for a reference port, and your bay may lag it by minutes or an hour, with corrections printed for the difference. Here is the trick that unlocks every chart. Charted depths are measured from a deliberately pessimistic level. The chart datum, roughly the lowest the tide normally gets. So the real water under you is the charted depth plus the height from the tide table. Chart says 6 feet, table says 4. You have about 10. It cuts the other way at the dock. Heights above datum also tell you when a shallow spot dries. If the drying height is bigger than the tide height, that shortcut is mud. Between low and high, the sea does not rise evenly. It starts slow, races in the middle, and eases at the end. The Rule of Twelfths turns that into arithmetic. Split the 6 hours into 6 depths. The tide moves 1/12 in the first hour, 2 in the second, then 3, 3, 2, 1. Half the entire range moves in the middle 2 hours. That is why a beach walk turns into waiting so suddenly, and why an anchorage entered at half tide needs the most care. The water is changing at its fastest. Heights fill your depth zones, but streams push your boat. Flood runs in as the tide rises, and runs out as it falls, and slack, the pause, is when narrow passes are safest. The trap examiners love, slack is not high water. In many places the stream keeps running well past the turn of the height, and the current tables, not the height tables, say when it truly stops. Wind against a running tide stacks the sea steep and short, the roughest water of the day, made by the calendar, not the weather. Tide questions come in patterns. Readings, the next high water, the height at a given time, springs or neaps this week. Calculations, depth under the keel from chart plus table, 12ths estimates between the lines, and secondary port corrections. And judgment, when to cross the bar, when the pass goes slack, whether the drawing bank is open. Work to practice makes the table an instrument instead of a document. That practice is what the workbook is for. The Reading Tide Tables Workbook. Heights, datums, the Rule of Twelfths, streams, and secondary ports with drills and answer keys throughout. The link is in the description, alongside the rest of the Talor Press library. Read the table before the water reads you.